Welcome to Cast Your Bets, the Offshore Gaming Association podcast with your hosts Jim Quinn of OSGi.com and J.R. O'Donnell of Red Zone Sports. Let's get started.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Cast Your Bets, the weekly podcast outlining how to bet, who to bet, where to bet, and how to make some money. My name is Jim Quinn from OSGi, and I'm here with my good friend J.R. O'Donnell of Red Zone Sports. J.R., how you doing tonight?
Doing well, my friend. Looking forward to another nice, strong football weekend. Everything's flowing correctly. The birds are chirping, the leaves are turning, and it's football season. Let's see if we can bang out two fat winners this weekend.
Yeah, and at some point it might actually start feeling like fall, so we can go, when we go to a game, it'll feel like football weather, that'll be nice. That'll be nice. Jared, let's talk about last weekend. Out of the gate, I think we've always tried to be transparent on the show. I know over at pregame, you're real transparent over there. Unfortunately, the 6-0 record went down last week, man, and I was upset, and I lost a bunch of money, not just on your picks, on my picks too. What happened there, man?
Well, let me tell you, I asked a bad team to do good things for me. I thought the Tennessee Vols, a home conference dog, catching 7.5 to an overrated Georgia team. And I thought the Tennessee Vols, despite Butch Jones and his big mouth and despite Butch Jones and his coaching inadequacies, could get the job done. Tennessee is a bad team right now. They are a play against. And Georgia does a lot of things correctly. They run the ball. They have great defense. Their quarterback doesn't make mistakes. I stood in front of a Georgia Bulldogs team with a team that was hurt and a limping dog, and I paid for it. Tennessee was bad. Georgia was the right side, and I just couldn't get off the Tennessee Vols, and that was my fault.
Yeah, and the other game was the Chargers and Eagles game, and we talked about it last week on a podcast, and it was a question for me of how bad were the Chargers really bad, or were the Eagles really good? And I think we found out the Chargers are really bad. I mean, they're Cleveland Browns bad.
Yeah, the Chargers are bad. They were in a great spot. It was a situational spot for me. The line was correct. Vegas had it correct at -2 or 2.5. 2-8 against the spread on the road for Peterson and his crew. But let me tell you, the Eagles were a walking wounded. They got the job done. Coaching was right there. Peterson got it done, and LeBlanc got a job done with that nice run at the end. The Eagles impressed me, 3-1. Now, this week they take the Cardinals, which is a whole different story. But you're right, my friend. The Chargers were that bad. And last week I asked two bad teams to do good things, and I'm smarting from it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a mantra of mine. It's, I think this week we have the Browns and the Jets playing. That's just, I can't even look at that one. I scrolled right past that on the Vegas Insider odds screen, like right by that baby. I wasn't about to even look at two bad teams playing each other.
Yeah, when you get a look at the Jets and when you get a look at the Browns, those are just two bad teams. And, it's a mantra like you talked about. Right now, with the Week 5 coming on and the good teams coming and the coaching and the injuries adding up, I think it's about time I get off some of these bad teams. And believe me, this week I got two steamrollers and I got two good teams, and I'm rock solid this week with the plays.
Nice, man. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, still a 6-2 record, pretty impressive on the show. I'm sure that your customers over there at pregame.com, cashed a whole pile of tickets those first couple of weeks. So, it's gonna happen. It happens to everybody. Otherwise, we'd all be millionaires, and there wouldn't be any sports books around anymore because we'd all be knocking their teeth in. The public did knock the sports books' teeth in this weekend. I talked to a couple of guys, saw some numbers, and it was pretty ugly from that side of the desk. And good for the players. I'm glad to see some guys out there cashing some tickets.
Yeah, the public won, and my moniker, obviously, is to go against the public. So, JR, and, if you're going to chirp and you're going to beat your chest and you're going to stand on the mountain and you're going to say how good you are, you certainly have to be transparent. And I tell everybody, 6-0 going in, but 2 clunkers last week. But, hey, you're only as good as your last pick. I'm working harder this week. I'm certainly going to throw out some nice numbers this week. But, hey, you're only as good as your last pick. And if you can't do this correctly and if you can't be honest in this business, there's no use doing it at all.
Yeah, bingo, man. That hits the nail on the head right there. Look, let's talk this week. We try to teach the listeners every week a little bit about how to bet, how to end up with a profit at the end of the season. I think one of the biggest problems that a lot of gamblers have, and even when I first started out, I had a little bit of a problem with it, is money management. Money management is really the key to ending up being profitable at the end of the football season. For me, I learned a long time ago, it's betting units. I'll bet a fixed amount on one, two, or three. That's mine. I don't have a 10 star, a 15 star. I have a one, two, and a three. I place, X amount, X plus one, X plus two. That's all I ever bet, and it's worked out very well for me the last few years. I mean, what are your feelings on using a fixed amount to bet? There's a bunch of systems out there. There's Martingale, you double up, and there's a couple of these other crazy systems. I think the fixed bet unit system is the way to go.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. To be successful in this business, you have to have a short memory with the teams, and you also have to have amount of money management discipline. Hey, you can get excited about teams, you can bet your favorite teams, but you need to bet the same amount on each bet. What happens is people love to chase on Sunday night. People love to chase on Monday night. They get down from going crazy with the parlays and the teasers and the reverses. To be successful, you have to just take little bites at a time. You certainly don't want to take one big bite. Obviously, you're going to choke on that baby. But what I need to do is tell the listeners here, loud and clear, come from J.R. O'Donnell. To be successful in this business, you need to bet small amounts. You need to bet portions of your bankroll, and you need to save some because it's a long, long season. You can't jump up and down and go crazy because that way you'll be out of money after 2 or 3 weeks, and I've seen it happen 1,000 times.
Yeah, I actually was talking to a guy this week, called me up. He's been calling me for years here at OSGA. Really, really smart gambler, really, really talented guy for picking winners. But you know what? The guy's actually, at this point, he's actually stopped gambling because he had such a problem with money management. He actually told me on the phone the other day, it didn't matter if I had 500 or 5,000 in my account, I was going to fire away on that next game. And that's just not the way to play. And, consequently, that fellow there realized it, and now he's kind of just on the sidelines. He might play some fantasy. I don't know. He might play some fantasy instead. Another thing I see guys doing a lot of times, and I was probably guilty of it before too, I used to always, lay a little more on Monday Night Football. Every game is really the same game. They play on the same field. They play with the same ball. They play with the same rules. It doesn't matter if it's the Super Bowl, the NCAA championship, the conference championship. It's still the same game, and I think a lot of guys tend to fire away a little more when it's a bigger game.
They fire away on the television games. They fire away on the marquee games. And believe me, the Thursday night football, the Friday night under the lights, the Sunday night football, and the Monday night football are all predicated on gamblers. The bookies love the Sunday night football, and the bookies love, obviously, the Monday night football. When people get stuck and people do dumb things during the day, they try to hit a home run. They try to hit a home run off a guy that's throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and you know what's happening there. They love to try to get out, and then they get stuck even more. A lot of these guys that I talk to, and believe me, I talk to a ton of people, the level-headed, calm, slow-talking fellas are the ones that win the money. The fast-talking people, they get all excited and can't tell you how much they love that game, are the ones that I cringe because those people are the ones that are going to go belly up if they're not smart.
Yeah, and the guys who are doing the unit betting, I mean, those are the guys who are slowly building a bankroll. And I think slowly building a bankroll is really the key that people need to realize. You're not going to turn $200 into $500 the first week. If you do, great. But you're not going to turn $500 into $5,000 the second week. That's going to take a whole season. You need to build that bankroll over the course of the season so that come the end of the season, you're profitable.
Absolutely. And if I can throw a good point in there, those people that got money management and the people that are going to build it slow didn't start like that. They all started out and they took their lumps. In this business, to be a professional gambler or to make money gambling, you need to take your lumps right out of the gate. So believe me, those guys are smart enough to realize that, hey, it didn't work the way I got into this thing. Maybe I need to change my round of thinking. And the people that can change their round of thinking are the people that are successful.
Yeah, and then the final problem, especially with the guys that are playing offshore, is they don't pull money out. I see it all the time. Guys build their bankroll up to a couple of $1,000. Guy deposits $200, rolls it up to $4,000, never withdraws. It blows my mind. I mean, for me, I look at things like if you make a big score, if you're a $200 parlay bettor and you hit a 4-teamer, draw some money out. If your balance gets 5 times what you deposited, draw some money out. I don't know what you think, but I see it happen all the time where guys, they just refuse to withdraw. And with these sports books offshore, it's hard to get money out. It takes time to get money out. You have to make sure you call at the right time, get the right method. Boom, boom, boom. You got to do a little bit to get some money out of these places before you end up with too much money to pull out.
Absolutely. I think one of the best points, loud and clear here, the more money in your sports book, the more foolish gambling that you do, the more foolish plays that you do. I'm telling you right now, I've seen people that play scared and win a lot of money because they have a minimum amount and they just siphon it off and they play scared. The people that play dumb with that huge, I can't, no way in any way lose all this money are the people that get blasted, because what happens is when you get foolish gambling and you start playing with all that money, you can't wait until you see that thing multiply. But what happens is you also can't believe when it gets blasted, and that's what happens. The people just are foolish with the large bankroll. You need to play scared. You need to play like it's your last dollar.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point, because especially after last weekend, I mean, you had a lot of guys cashing tickets on underdogs, cashing tickets that like you and I didn't think were going to win. So the guys right now probably are sitting a little fat. And if they, are $100 better and they start firing away with 300 because they're a little fat, that's a sure success for failure. Success for failure? Yeah, I think that's what it would be. Because you have success and then you fail because you don't manage your money right. JR, it's time to take a look at an NCAA game this week. You make 2 picks every week on the show. You had a fantastic run there. You got dogged a little last week. This week, I think you're looking at the Fresno State Bulldogs versus the San Jose State Spartans, the Sparties. What kind of angle you got on this game this week?
All right, let me tell you. Last week I stood in front of the Georgia Bulldogs, and they were a good team taking on a bad team. This week I'm going the other way. I'm looking at Fresno State playing a San Jose State Spartan team. Now, let me tell you how bad the Spartans are. They got a new coach who's basically overwhelmed and overmatched with Brett Brennan. The kid came up from a small school, and he just is in way over his head. And the Spartans are a bad team. 0-4 straight up against the spread the past 4 weeks. 56-0 to Texas, 54-16 to Utah, 61-10 to Utah State, and 41-13 to a UNLV team, which isn't very good. The Spartans trailed 35-13.5, and the Rebels, that's right, UNLV, led it up, and they still won by 28 points going away. I'm going to take the Fresno State Bulldogs, who are a nice coached, defensive-minded team that can run the ball against a poor Spartans team. The line is 16. It's currently 16.5, and they'll even go to 17. And I'm just not standing in front of Fresno State right now. They're on the road. They're laying the number. Vegas respect to a Fresno State team against the Spartans, who rank 122nd in scoring average, 15 points a game. They rate 124 out of 129 division schools about yards allowed. They just give up 44 points a game, and counting the last 4 games, they are only putting up 9.7 points a game. There's no way I'm standing in front of that. Fresno State has a great coach. Quarterback can run the ball. He doesn't make mistakes. And let me tell you right now, I am going to lay the points with Fresno State. I'm going to ask the good team to do good things. I like these babies, and I like Fresno State to smash a terrible San Jose Spartans team.
Dude, I love this play. I took a look at this. You told me you were looking at this game. We don't really talk about who you're picking before we get together on this podcast. And I looked at it and I was like, San Jose State has given up more than 300 yards in 3 of their 6 games. And then I went, wait a minute, 6 games? How have these guys already played 6 games? And they're 1-5. Ouch. So I love this play. I really, really like it. I think that San Jose State's got no chance of competing. This is the 81st meeting of these teams, and they're competing for the Valley Cup. San Jose State's won 3 or 4 Valley Cups. I think Fresno State not only is a much better team, I think they're tired of the Valley Cup sitting at San Jose State. I love this play, man. I think you got a big, fat winner here, taking Fresno State 16.5, minus 16.5, even minus 17. Frankly, for me, minus 20.
Yeah, right now in college, the teams that are starting to play well, the Alabamas, the Georgias, whatever, they got some momentum. But some of the teams that are tanking already, all of the Missouris, all the San Jose State Spartans. This is not the NFL. This is college. This is coached by guys that just can't get the job done. I'm going to stand in front of a San Jose team. I'm going to play a Fresno State team that is well coached. He's got a great memory. He thinks that this is a good time to get down on this team because obviously 3 out of 4, this is a revenge game. And San Jose just cannot do anything right now. UNLV, which was a terrible team, blasted them, and they're nothing to write home about. I just think there's one way to turn, and I'm going to lay the points.
Fabulous, man. Fresno State minus 16.5. Mark it down. Beat your bookie with it. JRO 16.5 on Fresno State. I love it. Folks, we'll be right back after this short break and a word from OSGi.
The offshore betting industry is totally unregulated.
Where can you turn to make sure your money is safe offshore?
The Offshore Gaming Association, OSGi. Visit the Offshore Gaming Association at www.osga.com or call them toll-free 7 days a week at 877-OSGA-BET. That's 877-674-2238. Established in 1998, the OSGA has been the ultimate watchdog for the unregulated offshore betting industry. They have helped thousands of players find secure, reputable offshore wagering outlets and perform dispute resolution for hundreds of wronged players. Visit the Offshore Gaming Association at www.osga.com or call them toll-free at 877-OSGA-BET.
Folks, welcome back to Cast Your Bets, weekly podcast where we try to teach you a little bit about how to bet, a little bit about where to bet, and a little bit about free picks on games where you can actually cash some tickets. JRO, it's time for your NFL pick of the week. I'm looking forward to it. Got a little bit dog there with the San Diego Chargers last week. I think this week you got a nice fat winner on file for us, man. Hit me up.
This week I'm going to play a team in a great situation. I'm going to play the Dallas Cowboys minus 2.5. Let me tell you some stats and trends. Let me tell you some game notes here. I got them all over the place. I've been capping this baby hard. They got revenge from last year's playoff loss. And the Cowboys have dominated the Packers. They dominated them last year. And this Cowboys team began to dominate once again. They're smart enough, a 35-30 loss to the LA Rams. And let me tell you about the Cowboys offense. They match up nicely against the defense. And don't tell me about the Packers defense. They are the walking wounded. And the Cowboys are going to get a job done against the Packers defense that just can't stop anybody right now. Now, they played a Bears team on Thursday night. But if you look at that game inside the numbers, Glennon fumbles the ball, boom, 7-0, interception, 14-0. That game got out of control real quick with no help from the Packers, with a lot of help from the Bears. How about some of these stats? The Packers with Rodgers at quarterback are 1-18 on the road when the defense allows 26 or more points. I think the Cowboys can put up at least 26 points. That does not bode well for Rodgers' crew. I also realize that they are well coached, and the Cowboys are going to get David Irvin back in the defensive line, add him to a front that has DeMarcus Lawrence, who leads the NFL in pressures, and I think the Packers, Adams, Montgomery, their two best tackles and best defensive player, Mike Daniels, are out. Rodgers is old world, one of the best out there. He's got the he's got the offensive players. I certainly don't think it's going to be easy, but I am going to take my chips and push them all in on the Dallas Cowboys minus 2.5.
Yeah, minus 2.5 is a nice number on this game. Seth, you're going to have to cut this. Aaron Rodgers has been sacked 15 times this year, and the Cowboys have. Isn't he the sack leader?
Yeah, you're talking about Irvin back on the offensive line or DeMarcus Lawrence. I think DeMarcus Lawrence, who leads the NFL in pressures. I don't have the sack leader, but if I can babble a little bit more about the Packers, they are a public team. They get the job done against poorly teams. Obviously, the Chicago Bears handed it to them. But I think you're getting value here since the Cowboys lost to a Rams team, which was a terrible situation for Dallas last week. But I think, obviously, this week it's a numbers game. I think the number's correct, and I think the Packers are not the right play. Although they will get action, the public will come in two-fisted on the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's the wrong side.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at this a little bit and saw that, Dallas's O-line's a little banged up, but I don't think it matters because Green Bay's D is a little banged up. So I think that kind of offsets, and you should end up with a Dallas offense that looks really strong. It's a sweet play at 2. I think we might see 2.5. I think it opened at 2.5. Now it's down to 2, which is what you're talking about. People betting on Rodgers and the Packers. So that's a fat play right there. Dallas -2. You going 2.5 too, right?
Yeah, I'll go 2.5. I'll go 2.5. But I think, believe it or not, money's going to come in on the Packers here a little bit. Aaron Rodgers, the moniker of him being the quarterback. The Packers are a public team, like we talked about Pittsburgh being that public team. We all saw what happened a couple weeks ago with Pittsburgh. But no, 2.5. I think it's a great spot. I play the numbers. I have some situations here, and I think coming off that loss to Dallas is the right play.
Nice, man. So that's a big fat winner on Dallas, -2, even 2.5 from J.R. O'Donnell, Red Zone Sports. You can find him over at pregame. I guess you're going to have some plays up there on pregame for us this week, JR?
Sure, absolutely. Hockey season's in full swing. Pretty soon we'll be having some NBA basketball. I know we're not talking hoops or hockey right now, but believe me, I do it all. Football's obviously king, NFL. And the college football, I got beat up a little bit. Hey, the public won this past week, and J.R. Donald did not. If you're looking for basically somebody that's smarting and doing his homework and not very happy, I'm in a terrible mood. I hate to lose. J.R. O'Donnell's coming back strong. I'm firing two-fisted this week.
Dude, I hate to lose too, man. I really hate to lose. It makes me mad. You do the research. You think you got big fat ones. It's the research that's worked for you in weeks past, and instead you end up with very few cash tickets at the end of the weekend. So I wish you good luck this weekend and all the folks out there. Every week I try to talk a little bit about the sportsbook industry on this podcast. What we've seen recently is some sportsbooks out there that just don't want to pay big winners. There are places that are smaller places I personally wouldn't send my money to. And we've got a couple of outfits out there that have found ways to not necessarily not pay guys, but they're starting to slow pay guys. What they've said is they want to pay their active and loyal customers instead of a guy who fires away and beats them out of a bunch of money. Probably these sportsbooks should never have taken these customers on, and I think the listeners need to be aware that, if you're a serious gambler, you really have to do some research. It's not that these places aren't paying guys who win $100. These places are slow paying or not paying guys who win thousands of dollars. And it's unfortunate that a lot of guys don't do the necessary research if they're serious. If you're betting, $25 on your college alma mater any week, any place is going to pay you. But if you're serious about trying to make money, as myself and JR here on the show, you need to do some research. You need to make sure that the places you're playing at are places that are going to pay winners no matter how much money they win. And you really need to do the research to make sure that when you win, you get paid. Our original slogan was, what good is winning if you don't get paid? And I think that holds true across the entire industry today. What good is winning if you don't get paid? JRO, it's time for us to wrap up this week's podcast. We'll be looking for you over at pregame.com. You have some stuff out there for this weekend already?
Absolutely. Stuff out there for the colleges and the pros. I got a lot of nice plays going this weekend. I did my research. Like I said, you want to get on a handicapper that's smart, and you don't want to get on one that's confident because he's fat and he's not making the right decisions. Somebody that lost is going to hunker down. I've been studying like crazy, and I'm going to win this weekend.
Did you get up at 2 in the morning instead of 3 in the morning today to get started?
No, I actually slept late. 4:09. I was on the computer this morning, 4:09. I'm going to take a picture and send it to you, but you'll be sleeping until about 8 o'clock. I know that.
4:09's an awful early time in the morning to get up. But you know what? That's the way to make winners. That's the way to end up being profitable at the end of the year. The guys that do the research are the guys that cash the tickets. Look, it's been great again this week, talking to everybody out there. I'm Jim from OSGA. You can always find me at OSGA.com. Make sure you look for this podcast out there on iTunes. You can find it on Blueberry. We have it on our site over at OSGA.com. You can also find it out there on our YouTube channel at OSGA Sports Betting. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Hope everybody gets to cash some tickets this weekend. And don't forget to keep listening to Cast Your Bets.
You've been listening to Cast Your Bets, the Offshore Gaming Association podcast. Check in each week for more inside the sports gaming world, and don't forget to check us out on your favorite social media site and on our YouTube channel at OSGa Sports Betting. Thanks for listening.